Welcome to In This Corner with Cyrus Fees. I'm Cyrus Fees. Special edition. Can't help but to be excited about this. December 2nd, BKFC 56 in Salt Lake City. On top of that card, the King of Violence title is up for grabs. Mike Perry taking on Eddie Alvarez, and we do have Platinum Mike Perry in the house. Let's run through some stats. 3-0 in BKFC, 14-8 in MMA. UFC superstar for performance of the night's bonuses there, platinum champion, and could be the King of Violence champion come December 2nd. Was that good enough, Mike? Was that good?
Yeah, I love it, bro. I appreciate all the respect and the dues to my name. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to perform and be this superstar that the world wants me to be.
100%, man. You've definitely been living up to that, bro. And we'll get more into that, how you bounced back and what you've done with BKFC. It's been incredible. But let's go ahead and just jump right into it. As we record this, we are, gosh, I don't know, less than 2 weeks away from BKFC 56 in Salt Lake City, the biggest event in BKFC history. And you're taking on an MMA legend, man. You're taking on a fighting legend in Eddie Alvarez. And you guys have got chippy, but for the most part, you guys have really shown each other respect. When you talk about each other and you talk about his legacy, when he talks about you and what you've done, really wanting to fight you. Are you excited about this Eddie Alvarez fight? Is this the biggest fight in your career?
Yeah, absolutely. Next one's always the best one. This is the next one, and I'm trying to make Eddie Alvarez a falling down legend. How many times he can fall down and get back up. That'll be his best stat if he gets up more than once or twice in this fight.
So just separating, obviously, you getting ready to fight this man and having to motivate yourself and do what you have to do inside of that squared circle. Give me remarks on this guy's career, on what you've seen him do over the years. He's been one of my favorite fighters for a long time. He's one of those dudes that goes to war, just kind of like the way you do, going to leave it all out there, going to take a lot of damage, but going to give a lot of damage. Man, give me some remarks on his career.
The type of guy Eddie is, in this matchup, I can see some of my past mistakes, before they happen. I can see him, finding a way to find success in the fight, and me having to do something about that, me having to overcome that, his ability to either take shots and get up, take shots and keep coming, find him if he's coming forward, find him if he's moving away, or in circles, whatever, and he's a smart guy. He seems to have an idea of a game plan of how he's going to come at me for this, for this fight. And, I'm looking to be the me that I've been for the past couple of years, having success in boxing. And that just comes with just being Mike Perry, being tough, hitting you harder than you hit me. And, I'm always looking to be cleaner. I'm always looking to be the next best version of myself. So in this fight, it's no different. I want to be clean. I want to be sharp. I want to be smart. And I want to, just do the job and beat them up and win.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, we're excited about that, and we'll get more into BKFC. But for the people that don't know, you grew up in Florida. Talk about what was childhood like for Mike Perry? What did a childhood look like when 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, man, growing up in Florida? You were in Orlando, right?
So I actually was born in Flint, Michigan.
Okay.
Hurley Medical Center. I remember that being, they said back in the day, it was like the #1 pediatricians in the world were in Flint.
Sure.
So I guess it doesn't sound too bad, but other people know Flint for a water crisis.
Yeah.
I remember they had boil water alerts when I was a kid all the time, every week on the news. And
my goodness,
I was drinking that water out of the garden hose in the front yard, playing sports on the streets all day, riding my bike all over the city. And you asked me that, and I'm like thinking about my son, because I have a son now, and he obviously reminds me so much of myself. And he's a little energized guy, and Um, you know, he's a smart little dude. So, you know, it's up to me as the parent for him to put a plan together that he
Sure.
can learn the right things at an early age. And it's still time to play around now at 2.5, almost 3 years old. But you know, me, I was playing games my whole life. My growing up was different. My dad and my mom, I moved to Florida at a young age. I went back and forth between Florida and Michigan, between my mom and my dad. And you know, my mom had a cleaner lifestyle at home. The house was clean, and then my dad was more of a rambunctious guy. And I mean, my stepmom cleaned the house pretty good, but you know, it was a different lifestyle in
Yeah, of
Florida and
course.
Michigan. And you know, I'm grateful for everything. In my older age, I look back sometimes at some of the things I thought when I was younger that things weren't fair, or my dad didn't do this or that for me, um or you know, or vice versa. And now I look back at my past and I'm like, you know, I've always had everything I ever needed.
Yep.
And I always feel like $1,000,000 no matter how much money I have, because I'm I'm a very like real person. Like, I'm down to earth, and I love to have a good time. I love to smile and laugh and crack jokes, and whether I'm the butt of the joke or not, like, I know how to be both sides. So, you know, I'm grateful for all my experiences in life, and they've led me to this time that I've been successful, and I have a huge opportunity on my hands.
Man, I see so many similarities in the way that we grew up, and being split up, and dealing with the divorce. And man, a lot of the things that you just said like really hit for me, because I had a lot of bad experiences in my life. I was around a lot of stuff I didn't need to be around as a kid. That being said, it's not something that I would ever make excuses about. I'm not going to go back and say, "Oh man, my childhood was this bad." And I mean, all it did was motivate me. You know, when I was around that sort of stuff, or we weren't doing so well, that motivated me to get to a better place. And once I had a family, to be a better parent, to, you know, surround my kids with what they need. So I feel you on that, man, like 100%. And I can also say that in the time that I've known you, and it's funny, I was just looking at a Facebook message that we had between each other, like from 2014. But in the time that I've known you, man, it just seemed like when your son was born, things changed. Like, you're obviously Mike Perry down to the bone, but at the same time, it just seems like the way you conduct yourself is a little bit different. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think Mike Perry grew up a lot, but I feel like I still have a ton of growing to do. I'm still, you know, I try to be more business savvy. I try to be more grown up, but I also like to keep my childish side so that I can
Yeah.
have fun and smile in life a little more. And you know, there's lots of responsibilities now at this age, and I see myself, you know, I'm getting wiser, and I pray that continues to go, you know, my intelligence goes up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I see myself getting younger in my older age, because I I think about all the time the life that me and my wife will have once
Yeah.
our kids are a little older to watch themselves
Mm-hmm. No
go
doubt.
back to the partying, you know?
No doubt. Hey, that day will come. That day will come. So let me ask you this. How did you find fighting? And it's
Mm.
kind of, I think you've alluded to it. If I step on my words here, you did get in you did get in some trouble at one point, right? Like, you had a rough stretch where you were kind of getting into things, and maybe had a few offenses, that sort of thing. Am I right on that?
Yeah, man. You know, what kid isn't troubled?
Yeah,
What
right.
kid doesn't play a video game, or you know, just I mean, my 2.5-year-old son gets into trouble here at the house, and I'm, you know, I'm so worried about the guidance that I have to give him to keep him out of trouble later when he's out with his friends
Yeah.
as a kid and he's free to think on his own. And you know, I'm always gonna be there to have his back. And
Mhm.
my parents did have my back, and looking back, I'm like, man, they tried to tell me and I just wouldn't listen at the
Yeah.
time. So it's not like it was something that was you know, it's something that you have to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
And you have to really be put in a situation like a real timeout. Like you got, you know, sometimes a young man ends up needing a jail cell to really teach him, oh, there are places in life you don't want to be, and there are ways to not end up there. You just aren't listening. And you know,
Yeah. You're right.
man, so many people around you are probably trying to tell you, and you're just not hearing it because you only see things your way. And sometimes that's the way life goes. It's like
Yeah.
it could change at any day. Even all the success I'm having, one night some person could hit that switch and
Yep.
I get in trouble and I get locked up for a
Mm,
long time. And
you're
I
right.
prayed that I try to stay out of that. I try to stay away from that stuff, but sometimes you want to go out and have fun and somebody disrespects your mom or your wife, and you gotta
Yep.
do the right thing. So sometimes the right thing could land you in the wrong place, and sometimes the wrong thing will definitely land you in the wrong place. So try to, you know, you gotta teach your kids, I guess, the difference between rights and wrongs, and then it's all up to them and God after that.
You know, it's and I'll tell you this, having kids that are 10 and 9 right now, I get what you're saying, because there's times when my son's acting up, or my daughter, and I pull him aside and I'm like, listen, this is easy. I'm gonna need you to do this. If you do this, you'll be able to do whatever you want. We're gonna buy you all the things you want. But if you keep doing this, keep acting this way, you ain't gonna get shit. And I tried to tell them that, and I try to break it down to them like as easy as possible. I'm like, bro, just don't do what you're doing right this second, and you're straight. And they
Yeah.
still do it. Like, it doesn't get easier, bro. Like, you just try to get right in there, get real low to them, get real low and say, hey, I know what you're doing right now. Just stop doing that, and life's going to be so much easier. And they still do it. Like, and it like blows your mind. You're just like, man, fuck, whatever. Like, all right, give me your iPad. You don't get to have it no more. You know what I mean? Like, it happens, and it's crazy. They do
Oh,
have to learn. You just hope they don't learn in such a hard way that it like messes everything up. You know, you hope they
what
don't
am
do
I
something
gonna
so
do?
stupid, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's um that's what I think about when I say I think of the past and something I used to be mad about, and I think about it now and I'm like, shoot, my dad's 50, 60, almost 70 years old,
Mhm.
and he made it as far as I'm concerned. Like, we're here, you know what I mean? We made it here, and
Yeah.
I'm older, have a family, and I'm taking care of family now. And so
Yep.
to me, he made it, even though I might not have seen some things his way when I was younger. He definitely did some things right
For
to
sure.
teach me. And then, you know, I definitely did a lot of things wrong in my past. Sometimes I think back of the smallest thing that I did at some party or something, and I just kind of cringe, like, damn, why'd I do that? It was so dumb. But like, if it wasn't for those feelings that I have now looking back, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't realize how much I've learned, and you know, how far I've come. And there's still so much more to come.
Let me ask you this, because I think this is super important. And this is something I've talked to BKFC about. And, you know, when we go to these different cities, you know, with what our sport is, I feel like going to like these after school programs, going to the Boys and Girls Club, going to kids, you know, that are already troubled, and showing what you can do, especially when you've messed up before, you know, and you got these kids that feel like they can never get right. You know what I mean? They've gotten in trouble so many times that they're not going to be able not to get in trouble. You know what I mean? So what do you think about that? Like talking to kids, especially like kids that are like early teens and stuff like that, and trying to get through to them as a successful fighter, as a guy that's very famous from fighting now. What do you think about like talking to kids and trying to get them on the right track?
Well, it's interesting because any thoughts I have about it, I'm like, one, you know, what do I do? Do I lie to the kids? Or
Hell
obviously
no.
that's never
No.
really an answer, right? So I'm
No.
gonna tell the kids, you know, well, chances are, you know, you're probably not gonna do what I'm doing. Um, like 90% chance you're not gonna do what I'm doing,
More,
or
more,
more.
more than that. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
So I'm like, you know, every day I'm over here thinking what I'm doing isn't gonna be what I'm doing anymore. Like it could
Yeah.
end anytime. It could end, and I just don't get another fight. There's no people aren't gonna buy it, or they're not gonna watch, or they're tired of watching fights. Not just Mike Perry fights, just all these fights, and
Sure.
um, you know, it's tough, but you can't think about that either, right? You got to be happy with where you are, what you're doing, and if you're not happy about it at the moment, then you have to change, or you have to think about why you're not happy. Because like if you're just sitting there chilling, there's no reason not to be happy.
Yeah.
You're by the grace of God, you know what I mean? You woke up today, you winning.
You got it.
So if you woke up today, you're winning, then you should feel good about that. And you should try to bless the world with good things. You know, you don't want to be a little terror to the world. You want to bring the world something of value
Yep.
that the world can look back at you and say thank you. And as a fighter, I'm like, I don't know how they can thank me sometimes for this weird stuff that we do.
Yeah.
But as the fighter, it is a privilege and an honor to get to do this. I'm grateful for the memories I've created with all my past opponents, all the lessons I've had, and all the training and training partners that I get to, work with and speak with. And man,
Yeah.
I
No,
like
I think
little things. I
well,
always think about this one meme that I hear where it's like,
sure.
he's like, I always remember what my dad used to tell me: stop being a little bitch and come on. And like that, I feel like I don't know if parents are raising their children that way again still
Yeah.
these days, you know? So like I definitely try to raise my son like that, manly. But I
Yeah.
definitely want him to take a different path. It's up to the leaders to teach the next generation. And some of these leaders who are grown up, just because they are the parent doesn't make them a leader, and they're not
Sure.
carrying themselves as such. So if you are the leader of your family and you had these babies, then you need to instill good values and teach them manners, and also how to stand up for themselves when someone's maybe not showing them manners. And so that you know if they run into trouble, they'll be ready for it. I want to teach my son something that I never learned. I want him in programming. I want him in artificial intelligence. I want
Yeah.
him in the future.
For sure. No, man, I get it. I get it. And I think it's something that, we can explore is talking to some of these kids, man, getting them on the right track. I think that's something that BKFC could do. And I think you'd be great for that, man. Just being real with people, because that's really what it's all about, is being real. And that's what Mike Perry is very damn real. That being
Thanks, Jeff.
said, going into fighting, man, you go in to mixed martial arts and you do your thing, man. I remember when you were on the AMI circuit, when you were an early pro, the message that I had, that I was looking on Facebook Messenger, and it was when myself and Casey Oxendine up here in Tennessee were promoting 2-on-2 fighting on an obstacle course. And I reached out to you about putting a team together, and you and Stefan Reese were going to be on a team together, and you guys were going to fight. Do you remember that?
Very vaguely.
Yeah. It was a thing. It was
You
definitely a
know,
thing.
I'm definitely in combat sports because it is really a team sport, because you can't train for it by yourself. You need a good teammate to come at you so that you're ready when your opponent tries to do that. But a team style fight, two in the cage at once, I'd be prepared to have to fight 2-on-1. So,
Yeah,
you
no
know,
doubt.
so
It's
that's
just
what
funny, man. It's just funny.
that would
And
have been crazy.
Yeah, it would have been crazy. I mean, we promoted a show. We ended up getting it on TV. We got it on Access TV, and it didn't end up panning out at the end of the day. That being said, it was a lot of fun, man. We had a blast. Your AMI days, I always like to ask fighters this because, AMI shows can be crazy. You know what I mean? Sometimes they can be well put together, and sometimes they can just be a complete shit show. Do you ever remember like one of those stories from the amateur days where like the whole thing was just kind of messed up from the beginning, kind of like a crazy promotion, or, how you got into it or what was going on backstage, anything like that?
Man, I've always been on the top of the cards. Uh, I've always been the guy that, kind of carried himself. I was, before my management, I got my managers at 6-0 as a professional. So I did everything almost pretty much myself before then. Besides training with the team, I kind of did my own. I took fights that I got offered from people that were close to me, and then I Facebook Messenger. I
Yeah,
would
bro.
get like a
Everything.
fallout or something like that, and then I got my managers, and then I had a Facebook Messenger message that the UFC had an opponent fall out, and I got that 202 spot against Hung Yu Lim, and
Yeah.
I remember watching the fights at the AMI days, like in the crowd, and then I would go in the back, and then I would get ready, and I would come back out and fight, and then go back out and watch the rest of the fights if I wasn't the main event, and then
Yeah.
it's kind of like that thing when I was a kid. If I thought things were, not great, that's just not how I thought back then, because it was all new to me. Everything was new to me, and I was trying to make the most out of the opportunities I was given. So no matter whether the show was crappy or it was a cage on the side of a gas station on the on the side of a
Yeah.
parking lot
Sure.
out in the rain, or I just took it and ran with it and was like, the main point is the fight. And now in my older age, I'm like, the main point is my family, and the
Yep.
fight is something I get to be free and be myself. And, so it's all pretty wild how it spins, because on one side, you're like, the fight should be the most important focus. And then you have a family, and you're like, oh, nothing tops this.
Yep.
I am needed here. I am loved here and taken care of here, and I must take care of them. And the fight at this point, through all the fights I've been in, people know me now. They know that I bring it when I step in the ring. So, at this point, it's like, just the more relaxed I am, the better I can perform. And that's what it's about, showing the world a performance from me that they've never quite seen. And every fight, I become the best version that I've ever been.
Wow, man, you hit that right on the head, and I get, the motivation thing as far as, when I started traveling for this, and I hit like 27 countries, man. I got to see a lot of the world doing announcing and commentary. And the first 3 or 4 years, 2 or 3 years maybe, I got excited to go to these new places and go to these new countries and see these things. But then after that, as my kids got a little older and more fun to be around, and you build these relationships with them, like the way I do it now is I get in the night before, I do the show, and I'm back out early that next morning. Like there's no hanging out. There's really no sightseeing. Like I don't give a hell about none of that. Like I want to get back to my kids, get back to my family like ASAP. You know what I mean? Like that's what the
Yes, sir.
motivation is. So I totally get it. But when you're in it, it's fun. You know what I mean? Like when I get on camera, I love it. And I have a blast being there at BKFC. But really, I'm ready to get back home as soon as that event's over. I'm ready to get back to the house.
Of course. What are you working for? That's what
Yeah.
you're working for. And enjoy the moments when you're there in them. And
Yep.
then as soon as it's over, because you can miss a lot in a day or two without your
Yeah.
kids. They change overnight. So I try to soak up all the moments I can with them. when I'm at home, when I get back from training. I go to training for a couple hours and I come back home, and it's a different vibe than when I left. Every time, the kids
Yep.
are constantly growing so fast. So, to don't get me wrong though, I'm gonna enjoy my fight week and
Yeah.
my moments in there, and I'm
The
gonna
after
share
party,
those
maybe hit the
moments.
after party, have a good after party. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Why
for
not?
sure. But I'm gonna share those moments with the family, and they're all coming to this one, so I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Hell yeah. That's the best, man. When you could bring your family along to something like that, that's awesome. You know, let's touch on UFC a little bit. You had a great career, man. And I think you built up such a fan base just because of who you are, the way you carry yourself, and then of course the way you fight inside of the cage, fighting inside the octagon. You know, you got the big wins. You got wins over Felder, and you got wins over Danny Roberts and Ellenberger. And then, and then you had some trip ups, and I got to believe that it was the fight with Cerrone that kind of really sticks with you. Is that the fight that, did you feel like that was your biggest opportunity to jump up and that didn't come through? Like, walk me through that fight and how it stuck with you. And I think you would love to get Donald Cerrone inside that squared circle.
Yeah, I mean, if that's something for sure, because definitely the Cerrone fight. I mean, it's not only just that one, unfortunately, that there
Yeah.
are others on my head and that didn't go my way, or just, it just had too much that I wasn't doing right, and even before the fight. So, the Cerrone one, he taught me a lesson where, he trained with me twice before we made that fight,
Yeah.
and he was learning how he could beat me before we fought, when I was just like, I don't know, I was just kind of working out with Cerrone,
Yeah.
and he was kind of friendly to me, and then then he showed his true colors right after the fight. Like right after the fight, he got my arm or whatever, and he comes up to me and he asks me this little sniveling, conniving question, and he's like, "Did it pop?" I'm like, "Yeah, motherfucker, popped like 8 times." And I was just sitting there with a dead arm, like, "Oh,
Yeah.
this is who you are. This is who you are." And Cerrone's this type of guy, like, in the camera, I don't know. People love him. He's a movie star now and shit. He thinks he's so fucking special. And he's this type of guy where, like, before the fight, he's so nice, and he acts friendly.
Yeah.
And then after the fight was over, he turned into this I don't know, it's kind of like just disgusting, like, damn, where's the respect, bro? Like, I got in here and did this with you, and I brought you something you weren't gonna get, or and he didn't give me a fight. You know what I mean? He never got into a scrap with me, and that was my fault that I didn't turn it into that. That was definitely
Yeah.
my fault. So, I don't blame him, and I appreciate him for the lesson that he taught me about, being stabbed in the back by someone. So,
Wow.
obviously it's a fight. Either side can win sometimes, but that's kind of one of the fights where I take a lesson, and going into this fight. And I'm like, I got to watch Eddie. He hasn't had the chance to train with me, and it's boxing. It's definitely different. I think I can get into a firefight, hit for hit, with anyone on the planet.
I
Heavyweight,
believe
I can
that.
take a shot, bro. I can throw shots back at your head. I can dodge shots. I take blocks in good spots, and you know, I block shit with my face if I have to. And and bare knuckle, if you make me bleed, I want to make you bleed so much worse. So,
Yeah.
Eddie says I fight with anger, and he might not be wrong, but I've taught myself to use it, and it
It's
could be one
working.
of my superpowers.
Hey, it's working, bro. I mean, you can't argue with the results, especially in BKFC. I'm gonna circle back to Cerrone for a second. Where does he, if you're making that list of guys you do want to fight, where's he ranked? Like, is he on number one, number two? of guys that you could really see yourself fighting in the BKFC? Like, where's he at? Guys you really want to knock out, you really want to put it on.
Yeah, I mean, sure. There's these guys that I want to fight that kind of want to fight me, and if Cerrone's on that list, he's definitely like one or two for sure. I would like a chance to fight him in BKFC boxing, like
Yeah.
bare knuckle boxing. Let's go, because his striking isn't. I mean, I can talk him down all day. He's more of a kicker than he was a puncher. He's more of a grappler than he was a striker. And if he comes in a bare knuckle, I mean, that's another easy paycheck for me. So let me deal with Eddie Alvarez. Let me get this little short, bald, fat boy off of my fucking radar. Let me knock him out. Maybe knock some teeth loose. And then, we're on to the next.
No doubt. Moving into the BKFC, obviously I'm sure disappointed leaving the UFC, bad taste in your mouth. You go to BKFC, you do the triad combat first, get the big win over Michael Sills, which was very impressive. And then you go to BKFC, Julian Lane gives you a fight. I mean, this guy, he hung in there with you. You obviously get the win. Were you happy with the way the Julian Lane thing went, or was it one of those deals where, all right, first bare knuckle fight, maybe didn't get it the way you wanted to win it, but you still won that fight? What were you thinking about it now that you look back, and maybe when it actually happened, what were you thinking after the Lane fight?
Yeah, in my opinion, I outpunched him a lot.
Yeah.
So, in my eyes, I see me winning that decision over and over.
Sure.
Big numbers from the amount of punches I threw and landed. And they became less significant. And that was a big lesson that he taught me throughout the fight, because, he used his head as a defensive measure against my hands. And I cut him up. I punched him a lot. Some of the punches didn't do damage. I made sure I kept hitting him even if they weren't doing damage. And I left myself open to getting hit back sometimes. I would hit him with like 5 or 6 and he would hit me with 1. So, he also didn't fight me as much as I wanted him to fight me. He ran a lot. He cowered a lot. He ducked and put his hands up in a very defensive position in bare knuckle, and just leaving like the hardest parts of his head exposed, which hurt my hands. And that fight that I be wanting that doesn't never seem to come, I just have to hold on to that and remember that these guys aren't as into it as I am, because I'm willing to stand and trade fucking hands down, head up high, and just throw until somebody goes to sleep. And I rocked Lane in the beginning.
Yeah.
And wasn't able to put him away after that. But I hit him with a clean shot in the beginning, and it just, I am curious as to how he recovered from that, what he may have been taking or what he's on. Everybody knows he's a loose cannon, and he's still a loose cannon, but hearing his post-fight speech after his last win, I was happy for him that he pulled the win out. It was a tough fight. He was getting beat up a little bit, but he landed a devastating shot that cut the guy's eyes so bad that the doctor had to stop it. It was a severe cut, the whole eyebrow.
It's a big part of bare knuckle, right? It's a big part of bare knuckles, the cuts.
Yeah, and I mean, in my opinion, a 46-48, a 2-point lead in that fight, might as well and should have been a unanimous, because I punched him a lot while he was in the fetal position, trying to just block and then wait for a counter. So, I was able to see that. I can see Eddie trying something like that, and also just trying to come at me and trying to hit me a little more. If he's going to get hit already, he might as well just try to go for it, right? So
Yeah.
You know, here I am now, 3-0, one TKO finish. I beat the great Michael Venom Page.
That was the
I beat
fight.
a former champion, Luke Rockhold, and I'm about to fight a super 3-time champion. And then maybe, we get to that fight that you have a picture of behind you.
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about for me, you cemented yourself with the Michael Venom Page fight. Like, because people could come at you and say, Luke Rockhold, okay, more of a kicker as well, right? You obviously put it on him. Michael Venom Page, when you did that to him, when you went into the 6th round in his backyard in the UK, brother, that was the fight for me. I'm glad I got to be there for that fight. That's what I think cemented your status in BKFC. That was the one. Was that more satisfying to do that in London, or was it Luke Rockhold where you busted his palate, and then of course Conor McGregor comes in there right after that? What was the more satisfying victory? If you got to pick between those two, which one do you put on top?
Well, I definitely had more of a battle with MVP. Um, I'm proud of myself with the Luke Rockhold because I showcased the power that I
Yeah.
have. And then, but I was disappointed that the fight was over with Rockhold. I wanted him to hit me back again. So, maybe I'll get that with Eddie. I think I clean them and pick them apart from a distance. This one's gonna be the most satisfying one. This one at this position in my life, I'm ready. I'm hungry for a battle, a real fight, and there's not a lot of options he has to try to win here. It's his left hand and his right hand, and he's got to try to put them on me. And I'm gonna return and give him the same left and right. So, I'm gonna try to slip, make it look good, make it look clean, try to hit him and not get hit back. And then I'm gonna get into a dog fight, a firefight, and see if I can put him away.
One thing that I liked about, first of all, that Conor McGregor moment, not only was it huge for you, that was huge for me because I was right in the middle of it too. I had that question to him, and then he just put over BKFC bigger than anybody in the world could have at that time, and probably still to this day. That being said, I thought the realness with you, Mike, I thought was real interesting is you have this moment, right? And when Conor McGregor comes in there and you guys are going nose to nose, and he is talking his shit because that's what Conor does, right? You know what I mean? He was talking his shit. And you came back with something that I didn't expect, but I knew that your friend that had just passed away was so heavy on your heart at that moment. And we saw, once again, one of those real moments from you because you brought that up. You didn't go at him and say, listen, I'll knock you the fuck out, get in here, I'll tear your head off. You didn't say anything like that. You talked about your friend that had just passed away. And it just changed that moment from being this crazy face off to like this respectful moment, you know what I mean? And this real special moment, you know what I mean? Talk about that because I could tell that your friend was really heavy on your heart in that moment.
Yeah, man, he still is. I was going to work out yesterday, and I was thinking about him and his
Yeah,
family.
bro.
And he gave me some strength to do a great workout yesterday. And I listen, man. All respect to Conor McGregor. He brings attention like no one else to fighting, and so happy that he could be there. Just when I was in the ring preparing for that fight, or when I was in the arena preparing, and he walked in, crowd goes crazy, and we're like, "What's going on?" And then everyone's like, "Conor McGregor's here." They were so excited that he was even there. So
Yeah, of
you gotta give that guy respect. So I
course.
just asked him for a face off because what's a respectful way to call a guy out, and you're both professional fighters. And I just had a great moment, and he gave me respect in that moment as well by giving me the face off and stepping in the ring. He didn't have to, and he did. And I just thought, having what brings, what's going to bring more attention to this subject than having Conor in the ring and he brings up, he's in this game, and he said he's never retiring. And I said, I thought about that this week because of what happened to my friend. And he,
Yeah.
he has that, his family is here living on for him. And, he still motivates so many people every day because of he had this saying said, earn the day,
Yep.
and where you had to go out and you had to work for it every single day. And um I just wanted to, you know, to solidify it in myself, in my heart, my mind, and let the world know, that I'm on this path. This path has chosen me. I've chosen this path, and I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up. And I'm going to continue to battle for the health and safety and lifestyle of my family so that we can all be happy together as long as it is that I am here. And I would fight anyone. And, but that doesn't mean that it has to be this evil thing.
Yeah.
I get that, I can fight out of anger and stuff, but, you know, it takes two. And guys like Eddie, who have been doing it for literally 20 years, and he's still in the game, you got to give him some respect. You got to recognize what it is that he can do and that he is capable of hurting
Yeah.
me in some way. So, I give him his respect there. And that's where it's not influencer boxing. It's not these kids who don't know what they're doing just gonna go out and throw as hard as they can. We pick our times. We know when to throw hard, when to throw fast, when to be accurate, when to be, sharp and precise. And our experience will show in the ring when we put on this banger of a fight. But I think my skills are just up there with street fighting, bare knuckle fighting, boxing in general. And I think I picked this guy apart. And you know, I had to shout my brother Mike Milmerstad out.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, I don't know if you remember, but I mean, we went backstage after that fight and you're getting ready to go to your press conference, at that moment on April 29th, 13 days before that, I lost my best friend. So, I mean,
Congrats.
it's crazy, 37 years old, bro. And you and I were in the same place, man. And we had that moment. We had a hug, bro. And that meant a lot to me, just so you know. It meant a lot to me that we could kind of
Thank
have
you.
that moment because we were in the same place. One of those things where I wish I could have messaged him or had him there, you know what I mean? And I couldn't. That's the hardest shit, right? I mean, I'm sure your boy would have been right there with you and he couldn't be there. And that's what stings. That's what makes it so crazy.
He
You could,
was though. He
yeah,
was.
right. You're right. You're right.
He
You're
was
absolutely
there,
right.
Yours was there right on your back,
Yep.
and mine was as well. Mine was on my shorts and my shoes, and he was on my mind. So,
Yeah, no
that's
doubt.
my brother, from another. And
No,
man, shout out to his family, man, the Milmer stats and everything they're doing. He was a great man doing things, SWAT deputy and police, and he was a different type of cop. And maybe some people say that, but there's not many cops I know personally.
yeah.
But from him, being one of us when we were younger and we did the fighting thing, and then he becomes a cop because he became a cop because he wanted to make a difference
Yeah.
from people like us getting arrested for having a nickel bag on us.
Yeah.
Well, he wanted to get people who were trying to commit purse snatching and bully people. He wanted to get the bullies.
Yeah. No, man. Hey, listen, I have a lot of respect for the cops that are out there for the right reasons that are doing that work because that's not something you could pay me enough money to do. So I give a lot of respect to the police out there. I'm gonna hit you with some quick hitters, and the funny thing is you like to talk, so these quick hitters will probably go a little bit longer. So we got 4 of them coming up. As a fighter, before you're a fighter, who was your favorite fighter to watch?
Mm. Mm.
Who'd you get excited for, man? Like get real excited to watch their fights.
Man, who was my top guy, man? I don't really know if I had a top. I liked just back in the day, you know, I remember seeing Rampage,
Yeah,
Anderson Silva, Johnny Bones, Lyoto Machida,
I
who
love
I train
Machida,
with
bro.
now. You know, I
Machida's
train with
incredible, bro.
Lyoto. He's incredible. 45 years old. He looks 32. And he's super crafty up here. So,
Yeah,
um, you know, myself, I've always been my favorite. I like to get in there and get after it.
yeah. All right, who was your idol growing up? Who'd you look up to? Was it somebody famous? Was it your dad? Was it somebody in your family? Who was your idol growing up?
Mm. Man,
I got them good questions.
yeah, I mean, I used to always tell my dad like about money, like I wanted so much money, and he was like,
Mhm.
"Man, Mike, money doesn't, he's like, money doesn't do this or doesn't do that. Like it's not." And in my older age now, I'm like, he wasn't right, but he wasn't wrong.
Sure.
Because I definitely love my money. I love having nice shit. But it could change overnight. So
Yeah.
I just hope I keep getting it. And I definitely looked up to my dad because to me, he was stronger and crazier than everybody else.
Yeah.
But man, I didn't have no heroes, man, superheroes. Like uh, yeah, I didn't like no superhero more than that. Goku. Goku.
Goku.
Yeah,
Okay.
Goku, bro. Definitely Goku.
All right, we'll write that down. Hero Goku. All right, dinner with four people, right? So it's you and four people, dead or alive. Who would be at the dinner table? Could be anybody, famous, could be family. Who would be the people that would be at your dinner table?
Man, I'm taking the 500,000. No, you
What?
never heard that?
No, no.
You have dinner with Jay-Z or 500,000. Which
Oh
one
shit.
you taking?
Okay. Nah,
Um,
I'm taking the 500,000 too, 100%. 100%.
yeah, who would I have dinner with, man? I would love to have dinner with. Man, there's always two sides to a question like that.
Yeah.
There's one side that I can't let you guys know, and then there's the other side, which is it's viable. It's I would say Donald Trump.
Okay.
Uh, I would say Sugar Ray Robinson
Nice.
because that's my favorite boxer,
Okay.
and then
Two more.
uh, yeah, I would say my wife
Okay.
and damn, somebody important, man. Somebody that means a difference in the world. Uh,
Jake Paul.
David Feldman, man.
Man, you gonna leave Christopher James off there, bro? I'm gonna let him know. He's gonna watch this right now, bro. He's gonna be very
Chris, a good
disappointed.
guy, man. I like Chris,
I know that's
but
our boy.
Feldman changed my life. So
Hey, bro,
shout out to that guy.
100%. That's the man, man. I agree with that, man. He's changed mine as well. What's on your playlist right now? We pull up your Spotify playlist. What are you banging right now?
Oh man, I don't do Spotify. I'm Apple Music, but
Okay, okay.
yeah, the good stuff. You got the green text messages. You be doing
Hell
Android.
no. Do not have the green text messages. Hell no. Absolutely
Okay,
not. My
so
shit's blue all day.
Spotify, I would go. You know, there's a few Drakes on there, like IDGAF,
Yeah.
Monaco, Bad Bunny. I don't even know the words, but damn, I love the song. Uh, there's Meltdown. There's a couple of Drakes right now.
Yeah.
I love St. John.
Okay.
He's got some good music. I saw him live out here in Orlando. It was pretty lit. And I like EDM stuff too. So
All right. Two last questions. So do you, and this just popped into my head because I think it's funny. I mean, how do you react to all the memes, all the people online that just say that you're black, that you're not white, that you're black? You know what I mean? And you see all these funny memes, all these pictures. Does it annoy you? Do you laugh at it? Like, how do you react to that? Because that's what they always want to go back to is that Mike Perry, he's just black. You know what I mean? Like, how do you react to that?
I'm grateful for it. I take it as a compliment.
Yeah.
It's my black athleticism. You know, we I I'm from Flint, bro. So,
Yeah.
I am black on the inside and the outside. And I'm every damn race, to be honest with you, man. There's something from every race that I feel like we can all love as people. And you know, I don't take jokes that way anymore. Like, I guess there are some that might get me mad, but if and also I did it to myself when I said what I said all those years ago. I was so young, and I didn't know what the heck I was starting. And probably lots of poor little white kids out there get beat up because of they saying some shit they shouldn't be saying. So,
No doubt, man. All right, last question. Who can you help me, you personally, who can you help me get on my podcast? Who can you make the call? Who can you make the message to get me on the podcast? And I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead right now because you already brought him up. I want Machida on my podcast, bro. I need Machida. Machida's my guy, bro. That's one of my favorites.
Machida's a great man. He would most definitely, I could probably definitely set up that connection. Let me talk to him. And who else? Man, we just talked to someone on my podcast last night on the Kim Pie Pandas Overdogs podcast.
Okay.
We talked to Mr. Devin Haney last night.
Okay. That's a good one.
So, that was pretty cool to talk to him. He's super like top of the top. You know what I mean? He's up there 30-0 pro boxing.
Crazy.
That guy was guided by his parents and his team that was put around him since a very young age. That's the type of commitment I'm trying to give to my kids. No
doubt.
Damn, I had you should get Cowboy on here and ask him. I don't know if I could set that up, but yeah. Cowboy was a little upset when I called McGregor in there over him, but McGregor beat his ass. He grabbed my arm. We didn't even have a fight. He just tried to hump my arm and shit. And
I can tell you right now,
he was talking shit with the schmo in the back. So I can tell you all hot on the Cowboy shit now.
So I'll tell you right now, because I know Chael said some stuff or whatever, but concerning that, I walked over to him like right as that fight started. I walked over there and I said, "Hey," I said, "we may call you in, to the ring or whatever." I said, "Is that something you want to do?" And he said, "No." I mean, so maybe he had intentions, but I can tell you what I saw from him one-on-one when I talked to him, and I asked him that exact question, and he said no. So if he was mad about it, I mean, I don't know what he could be mad about because he wasn't going to come in anyways. Exactly what he said. That's it.
Yeah. Fuck you, Cowboy. But shout out to the Dallas Cowboys. My family loves them. I definitely love to support them. We all wear Cowboys jerseys on Thanksgiving and shit.
Nah, man. Bills, baby. Buffalo Bills. Stop that Cowboy shit. Come on now.
They've never been good, bro. The Buffalo Bills have never been good, bro. Like, the Detroit Lions have been better than the Buffalo Bills, bro.
All right, bro. I'll meet. Listen, they play in Buffalo this year. Go and get a ticket. I'll get a ticket. We'll go there and we'll see what happens.
Oh, shit, man. I definitely want to go to the Super Bowl. I definitely want to
That'd be crazy. That'd be good, man. We need to get you Cowboys back. Well, hey, listen, bro. I appreciate you. I'll give you the call on Machida. And we'll make that happen. But I appreciate you giving me the time, man. Hey, and tell me about your podcast real quick. Let everybody know about whatever you're doing on your podcast or anything you got going on like that.
Yeah, Overdogs podcast, man. It's on Kenpai Media. Kenpai is how you say cheers in Japanese. Shout out to my team over there, and shout out to Market Cypher. Overdogs podcast, man. We got lots of episodes out. I've done like 6, 7 episodes.
Okay.
And I'm getting better at it. I'm trying to talk more. You said I love to talk. Well, damn it, we're on a damn Zoom meeting.
Yes,
I'm
we
supposed
are.
to talk here, so I'm trying to let the people know and tell Cowboy don't get his panties all in a bunch, man. If you want to see me, come to BKFC and you can see these knuckles.
There it is. Appreciate you, brother.
Cheers, bro.
Thank Mike, man, for his time. And of course, folks, get ready. December 2nd, BKFC 56 is going to be bananas. You can get it on the app. You can get it on your local cable and satellite providers, and you can get it on Fight. However you want to get it, get it. Don't miss this show. It's going to be huge. I'm Cyrus Fees. We'll see you next time right here on In This Corner.